Well, I will start out with the first question, and that is, why Moby Dick in the first place? And what was your process in adapting it for this performance?
Well, very briefly, here's Tom Nelis. And then we're just going for Anthony. I guess he's going to come any minute. He's coming. Okay. Yeah, very briefly, a media producer was very concerned that high school kids aren't reading books. So he asked a lot of artists to do a monologue about their favorite book. Principally, that you don't read the book unless somebody says, you got to read this book for these reasons. So he asked several people to do that, and I said, I'll do Moby Dick. And I read it again the first time since high school. I just went, wait a second, this is a very, very strange story. Just very briefly in terms of adapting it for a stage, you might ask, well, why would this perfectly beautiful novel need to be made into a multimedia show? That's a really good question. I just fell in love with the book and just love the language, love the ideas, and so as I kept reading it, I just kept hearing it more lyrically, more musically, and so I got kind of carried away, and then grabbed my friends into it, and who began to interpret what was going on in a very exciting ways for me. So, yes.
If you just want to raise your hand and step in, we'll try to come to you with the microphone or pass the mic to you. So he is right there. So if you want to raise your hand if you have a question. Right down here.
Hi. I just want to say that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen, multimedia-wise. I'm a grad student at the University of Michigan's dance department, and I want to ask you a little bit of how some of the movement and dance qualities came into the songs and stories of Moby Dick.
Well, let's see. Because there's so many words in this, we really try to make the language of the body support that. And of course, whenever you're seeing so many things going on at once, a picture or sound and people moving, we try to make that be a kind of polyrhythmic experience. I'm very interested in the eye being rhythmic, and so that's why there are several pieces of text that establish different rhythms and ask different questions, and reading rate, and then flash rate, and then another kinds of rates. In terms of how people came up with what they were doing, it was different things, and sometimes we worked together, but maybe actually, Tom and Chris, you could describe a little bit of how, particularly in Call Me the Captain, that sort of beginning piece sort of came together.
Call Me the Captain is the one on the crutches. That came about the hard way. What I did to develop that was, in Philadelphia, I fell into the orchestra pit and broke my neck. And before that, it was quite a different number. The next time it was on crutches. And so we did that for the spring side of the tour. And then we've worked with a lot of different choreographers. We've also worked with a lot of different vocal arrangers. And after a while, it would take a little from everybody that comes in. And after a while, it builds up this patina of these influences. And I thought in the fall, I was going to go back to this thing I was doing on the crutches because we liked the crutches. We liked what they added. And then in came David Newman, a new choreographer we hadn't worked with. And he had a great style that worked with the piece without being overtly dance-like. He just was into the groove of the songs. It was very human. Wasn't really much of a dance vocabulary involved. And he also had blown his knee out a few years back, and he said, you know, I was really frustrated then, and I came up with a couple of tricks that I can do on crutches, and he showed me his tricks. And I mixed them in with my tricks, and that's how Armageddon came.
In terms of the other movement coaches that we had a couple. We had Ann Bogart came in, and she helps with the movement as well as with some of the staging. And Maya Safran, who is an assistant with Bill T. Jones, and Bill T. came in and worked with us, establishing some of the early movement. And since then, it's all evolved, and we've kind of gone, okay, well, now the piece is like this, and we need to pare down this, or we need to change this and find alternative movements. And just as we've grown, as the piece has grown, the movement has changed and filtered more into our own bodies.
Well, the movement in Last Man is, that's a role that Tom actually created, so I sort of started from that. That's the one that starts at the tower and then works its way down. But really, I sort of put it together myself, remarkably enough. No experience at all in such things. But I just focused on the music and on the accordions. They have this amazing breath to them. And follow the words. I develop it in my hotel room and sometimes on stage in front of a live audience. But I love the song so much. It all makes sense to me. You know, I keep finding other meanings in it. And just go with the flow from there.
Power. Laurie, you mentioned that the impetus for this piece came from a multimedia producer who wanted to raise awareness about certain classic texts, classic books. In that vein of raising awareness, I'm not sure if you're aware, because the topic deals with whales, there's going to be a little political message here, but actually, one of the world's largest corporations, Mitsubishi Corporation, is planning to develop the world's largest salt refinery in Mexico, in southern Baja, Mexico. And there's only one untouched whale sanctuary breeding ground, and that's where they're going to be developing this salt refinery. Mitsubishi is working with their Japanese government, and they're putting a lot of pressure on Mexico to have this salt refinery put in. There's going to be a 1-mile barrier that goes across the water to process billions of pounds of salt, and there's tremendous chance for environmental damage due to the processing of salt. And I was wondering, if you're going around the country, and obviously the message here is a deep message and it's very profound, and people get into an emotional state, is there a way that maybe awareness about this could be somehow put out there a bit? There's an organization known as the National Resource Defense Council that's actually behind this, and there's going to be more publicity about this to try to stop this from happening. Because the whales migrate from north of Alaska all the way down the Pacific down to Mexico. And so I just wanted to kind of raise people's awareness of this and see if there was maybe a way, because you're going around, and it could be a wonderful way to be able to put something out there perhaps and say, hey, we've got to be more responsible here, because whales are incredible.
Thanks very much for that. I'd like to finance